Hey everyone, welcome back to AskReddit Reads. Today's topic is, when was a time you legitimately thought you were going to die? Let's get into it. I was really sick when I was 12. Missed a whole semester of school. I was throwing up every day and had no energy. Doctors couldn't figure it out. Had test after test, visited specialist after specialist, and nothing. All we did know is my liver wasn't functioning. I was pretty sure I would die before we knew what was wrong. It's hard to explain, but I came to terms with it. Like I was more comfortable with death as a concept when I was like 12 than I am now at 25. Turns out it was my gallbladder. They had checked it for gallstones early on, but that wasn't the issue. My particular malfunction didn't show up on the ultrasound. The bile duct into my stomach didn't form correctly from birth, and it was hindering complete bile drainage, leading to sepsis in my gallbladder/liver. One surgery and 2 weeks bed rest, and I was back to normal. Hit a stopped car going over 65 miles per hour. Spent 2 years in a wheelchair, 6 months of that was learning to walk again. Honestly, I thought I was going to die in the seconds before impact. I can still clearly see the people in the other car, the other traffic around us. Car was stopped to turn on a highway with no middle turning lane. I was the only one injured though, and I'm still sort of grateful for that because I swear there was a kid in the backseat of the other car. I wasn't the driver, front seat passenger of a reckless driver. When I had a migraine with aura for the first time, I didn't even know what this was a thing, but it started with the worst migraine I've ever had, following by me losing my sight and becoming dizzy and feeling sick. I thought this was it. I told my sister that I was going to die. She told me she has those migraines too, brought me a pill specifically for migraines, and told me to sleep. She stayed with me until I woke up just to be sure. Scary as hell. I was on vacation this past summer, was staying at a friend's house, when I started to notice my chest feeling tight. I started to get a fever and feel sick. I threw up, and the feeling in my chest started to expand. It felt like it was going to explode, like a balloon being inflated inside me. I couldn't stand it. I literally felt like any moment my heart would give out or my chest would explode. Went to the emergency room. Turns out I had a really bad gallbladder attack. But on the drive to the hospital, I was telling my wife how much I love her, lol. And that if she remarries, don't let it be anyone we currently know. Back in July, I was riding my motorcycle and was turning into my driveway. A girl came from behind me around a sharp turn and T-boned me. She was going at least 60 miles per hour up until a couple seconds before impact, and she hit her brakes. She hit me because she was either texting or dicking around with someone in her car. Either way, she wasn't paying attention. I remember hearing tires screeching and seeing the car half a second before impact, then everything went black. I broke the windshield with my head, broke the mirror with my hip, then landed face first onto the road. I do remember being scared because I wasn't sure if there was any more cars, so adrenaline kicked in and I caught myself with my hands and knees and pushed myself to my feet to run off the road. That's where I regained my vision. The bike was totaled, but thanks to my helmet and pure rage at being hit, I managed to literally walk away with only a concussion. Nasty bruises and a deep bone bruise on my left foot, no broken bones at all. It's been 8 months and I'm still recovering from the concussion. My toe barely hurts, and my leg that took the impact has a dent in the muscle, but other than that, I'm fine. If I wouldn't have been wearing a helmet, then I have no doubt that I would be dead now. Wear your damn helmets, kids. A couple friends and I were driving home from a birthday party, and we got rear-ended by a drunk driver who was going about 120. On impact, all the windows exploded and the tires caved inwards, and we were going about 70, so there was a sort of a slingshot effect, where the impact made us pick up some speed, and we were just careening down the highway with zero control. The car swerves around a bunch, almost hits another car and a pole, and eventually the car rolls into an area just right of the shoulder. Luckily, it ended up back upright on the tires, but it ended up facing the complete opposite direction of where we were initially going. We thought our friend in the back seat was dead, but she was just unconscious and ended up having a pretty bad whiplash. My other friend and I were basically unharmed, except for the cuts and bruises. We all probably should have died for sure. I woke up in the morning to get ready for work, bent to tie my shoe, and when I stood back up, sight in my right eye was completely gone. I did the usual thing of blinking and shaking my head a little, thinking maybe blood rushed to my head, weird or whatever, but it wouldn't come back. I tried to explain to my partner that I was in trouble, but when I spoke, the wrong words kept coming out. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I definitely said tree instead of hospital at one point. I figured I was having a stroke or an aneurysm had erupted, or something brain tumory, who knows. Whatever the case, I spent the entire ride to the hospital crying and telling my partner over and over that I loved him. I felt like I couldn't say it enough. Turns out I was preparing for my first migraine, cluster headaches. I do not recommend them. And the migraine aura I get is blindness and aphasia, because I'm a lucky girl like that, I guess. So this is funny, but also serious and disgusting, so I hope you have a strong stomach. I was sick, pooping my brains out, intense cramps, blood, vomit, migraines for days. It got to the point where I was shitting water, crystal clear water. I thought I was poisoned somehow. Severely dehydrated, as every fluid I drank just went right through me like a funnel or came back up minutes later. I stuck to water because it wasn't as gross as curdled milk. One day I was sitting there sick as hell, my new normal, or so I thought. I started physically heating up. Heart palpitations, turned pale, fainted, fell off the toilet still shitting and vomiting. Fortunately, I fell just right so I could choke on my own vomit. When I came to, still feeling faint, I take my surroundings there on the floor. There's pink butt water on the wall, laundry basket, and on half of the floor seeping under me. There's vomit, basically just stomach acid and water at this point, on the other half of my floor and all other half of my head. I was home alone, my parents were working, and my brother was asleep, and he sleeps hard. A bomb could go off and he wouldn't know. Anyways, fluids just don't stop coming. I can't feel my legs and I have no idea where my phone is. I start shouting in between dry heaves and, well, Poseidon crawled out of my throat. Luckily my neighbors heard me and called an ambulance. The ride was hell for every single one of us. My poor EMTs had to go home, shower, and I'm sure get tested for whatever it was I had, all while hoping they weren't going to die. Fast forward to the hospital, they give me meds to stop stomach spasms and anti-nausea medications, along with pain meds for my acid-ridden esophagus and sore muscles. After all the tests turns out, I have the flu, not the scary part, and no electrolytes. Cue back to me only having water. On top of being severely dehydrated, the blood was just my pissed off colon. Lack of electrolytes can do some pretty scary shit, pun intended. Very recently, I had some kind of super fast virus or illness. Not sure what it was, but it basically started off with me feeling an incredible sense of impending doom, which I know is a sign of panic attacks, but I don't get panic attacks, and that feeling lasted until I was getting cold. Usually I'm way too warm, but this time I had to bundle up. That didn't work, and even getting into bed didn't help. I started shivering so hard my muscles began to tighten, and it was so painful. I had to jump into the shower to stop it. But before I could get in, I started getting lightheaded, and had to lie down on the floor. It was like everything was spinning. And then I had the urge to shit and puke at the same time. Not being able to think clearly, I had to get into the tub in an attempt to do both just in case. At that moment, I couldn't stand or coordinate properly, shivering, lightheaded, about to shit and puke. I thought to myself, I must be about to die, and this is how I'll be found. I ended up puking first, felt better enough to shit in proper place, and then showered to stop shivering. After all of that, it was like nothing happened and I was better again. Either when I was moments away from drowning at 9 years old, I had gotten to the stage of acceptance and overwhelming love and compassion. I accepted my fate, wished my family well, and was ready to embrace death. Next thing I knew, I was hacking up water at the side of the pool. No one helped me, no one got me out, and I don't remember how I got there. Or, the day I discovered I had a severe allergy to codeine. Took some cocodamol for a headache that day, and by the first lesson in school, I couldn't breathe. Felt like my body was shutting down internally. One time I woke up in the middle of the night with a stomach ache, so I went to the bathroom and shat wildly in the toilet. Then I went into a cold sweat and my hearing and vision started to blur and muffle. I called for my mom, but I couldn't quite hear myself. Then everything went black and I couldn't hear anything, but I was still awake, so that wasn't cool. Then my mom, she heard me as I did successfully yell for her, gave me a bowl and I threw up a completely clear liquid with the appearance and viscosity of corn syrup. This all happened over the course of 30 minutes and I woke up fine that morning. When it was happening, I thought I was going to die, and afterward I assumed it was food poisoning or something. Apparently most of what I described is not consistent with food poisoning though. Cheers. Woke up immediately, wide awake in the middle of the night, without moving, and the hair standing up on the back of my neck because my now ex-wife was standing in our bedroom holding a large kitchen knife and staring at my feet. She had had a schizophrenic break a few months earlier and had started referring to me as the enemy. I laid there without moving. She stood there for over an hour. I have no idea how long she was there before I woke up. Anyway, she leaves the room and comes back without the knife, gets into bed, and cuddles in little spoon style like she's made a decision. Then she made me waffles for breakfast. Best believe I put on my best, "Oh wow, amazing wife, these waffles are yum" voice. As a child, I would go bodyboarding at the beach, but only on summer vacations. Being the excited child I was, I would swim for hours, and one of those times, I got super worn out from the surf and sun. I swam out to catch a wave and was sitting there waiting for a good one. I laid down and shut my eyes. Even though it must have been only a few minutes, though it seemed longer, I drifted far from the beach, way past where the waves broke. To my child mind, it seemed more than a football field, but I'm sure it was not that bad. Nevertheless, I couldn't swim well enough to be out there alone. Thus, I promptly paddled in, scared as all get out. If I had fallen any more asleep, where would I have ended up? But this is the killer. Less than 10 miles up the coast, there was a shark attack hours earlier. I more so wonder if I would have been in one piece when I woke up. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. It'll be greatly appreciated. And if you want to visit the original thread, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.